That's where I'm at right now with David Ayer, just in general. I don't believe in him as a filmmaker. I don't really have faith in him. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Isaac Joel, and you're listening to The Critics. And today we're going to be breaking down the latest film directed by David Ayer, A Working Man, starring Jason Statham. These are action flicks that I actively try to just avoid altogether. I'm really not impressed by these kind of quick 1 hour and a half. Like, they're very condensed, short, under 2 hours, straight to the point, simple action flicks. And I know that's basically every single action movie that has ever existed, that it's just driven by a simple plot and nothing else, nothing more exciting beyond that. But I do love it, of course, when action films dive a little bit deeper, have a little bit more depth, and isn't there to kind of just waste my time and feel like a weird vanity project. A Working Man is a script that was written by Sylvester Stallone. Information I knew nothing about until I went into the theater and I bumped into an old friend from my old coworker. And he was like, do you know that the script was written by Sylvester Stallone? I was like, why did you tell me that? I wish that you hadn't told me that, because now that's all I'm going to be thinking about when watching this movie. And sure enough, it just bleeds through. Listen, I'll tell you exactly what I told him. Rocky was one in a lifetime. Okay, that was lightning in a bottle. That was a fluke, man. That was legacy. You can't go back and replicate that same magic. I think Rocky, at this point, Sylvester Stallone has just been on this journey of trying to recapture that same magic that he got from back when he did Rocky, or even Rambo and other films like that. I'm not saying he wrote those, but just doing good, simple action flicks, I think, is what he's trying to do today with the Expendable movies, with whatever it is that he's really up to. I'm not too focused on that guy's career just because it's really not even that impressive. The last movie Jason Statham and the director David Ayer worked together on was The Beekeeper, a movie I absolutely despised. I hated this movie. I hated the idea of it, the concept, the execution, the action, the performance, every single aspect of this movie. I just didn't like. It didn't work for me at all. It was really stupid. It was just really silly and stupid, and I don't get it. And I never will. I don't think that's a movie I'll ever look back on and appreciate. In my opinion, the only good movies that David Ayer has ever produced or directed in his entire life are End of Watch and Fury. Suicide Squad is kind of up in the air and kind of like a question mark, because I do believe that, the Suicide Squad director's cut exists, or just his version of that exists out there. We know he's talked about that. He's complained about that on Twitter every single day for the last 5-10 years. And it's really just annoying. I get it, man. The studio burned you. They screwed you over, but move on. Go and prove to us that you can actually make really good movies. And he hasn't really proved that with a lot of people. If anybody has seen Bright, that is a Netflix film. I personally watched it when it came out way back when, and I kind of liked it. I did like Will Smith and Joel Edgerton in that film. It was cops and fairy tale land creatures all kind of coexisting together. It's an interesting idea. Execution, not the best, but the idea was interesting enough. You had interesting enough actors. Let's talk about Tax Collector, Shia LaBeouf. I put that movie on for 10 minutes and just shut it off. The quality of it was disappointing. The performance, everything about that film just wasn't speaking to me. That was the first time ever that I can recall where I was like, you know what, I'm just not watching this movie. I have no reason to experience this at all, and I'll forget about it. So that's where I'm at right now with David Ayer, just in general. I don't believe in him as a filmmaker. I don't really have faith in him, and I think he's a good guy. I really do feel like he's trying his best, but it just isn't coming across in any of his films. Jason Statham and David Ayer reunite for A Working Man, a movie that I walked into knowing and feeling deep in my heart like I'm just gonna walk out of here with my eyes rolled. This is not for me at all, but you know what? I'll still have a good time here regardless. I always have fun when I'm going to the movies. 5 minutes into it, I thought that it was just completely silly. I thought that this movie was ridiculous. It opened up with some dudes roughing one of his co-workers at a job site, you know, the construction workers, and they're roughing him up, and Jason Statham's character in retaliation has a bucket of nails that he just shoves in this guy's face and immediately goes from 0 to 10 like right away. I would have rather they just kind of like built it up a little bit, like, oh, well, there's an animal inside that cage, you know, he wants to come out, but he's really trying to contain himself and hold himself in, you know, he can't unleash any acts of violence because, you know, maybe he's on parole and he can't get in trouble, he's gonna lose visitation rights to see his daughter and he really cares about her. Like, that makes sense to me. But anytime anyone like says anything to him that he doesn't like, it just seems that he's immediately gonna go to violence and go towards like, oh, I'm just gonna punch my way out of it. And that's like Jason Statham mentality. That's literally a Sylvester Stallone mentality, is that like, oh, well, anybody that gives me a problem, I'm just gonna punch them right in the face. Like, no, not really, man. We're human beings. We gotta talk about this. And also, like, there's just a little bit of nuance. Let's look at John Wick, for example. Keanu Reeves, the first film. Perfect example of a man that is holding on to his rage as long as he can until he's just pushed over the edge and he needs to get back out there and unleash some vengeance upon his enemies. That is what I feel like they should have done with A Working Man. I actually did not hate this movie. I know I'm kind of sitting here and going on and complaining about actors, the director, and just kind of the overall arching concept, but I did walk out of this fully entertained. I was laughing so hard. There was a couple of moments where I was swelling up that I was like, okay, I just might cry if the actors were better. But, you know, it was there. Everything was working, I think, for the most part. They're literally stealing the John Wick high table kind of concept and merging that in with the Taken story plot of like, oh, well, someone's kidnapped, he has to go find her. That, to me, is where this movie gets a little murky, and it's because his boss at the Garcia group or whatever he works at, this job site, the Garcia family, literally the most basic, and I'm sure that was like the first Hispanic name that they could think of, and they're just like, you know what, let's just lock in on Garcia group or whatever. So he works for Michael Pena, who's a great actor. He was in End of Watch, and he runs the company, and his daughter is kidnapped over the weekend. Not overnight, over the weekend. She's kidnapped, I think, like Friday. They don't notice by Saturday. They noticed by Sunday because she didn't show up for their recital. And then by Monday morning, they're talking to Jason Statham's character, and they're like, will you help us find her? We'll give you all the money that we have. And he's like, I don't want you. I'm not that guy anymore. He completely denies their request and then goes about the rest of his day working. And then it isn't until the very next day that he goes over and visits them at their home, and the whole family's there. Everybody's crying and mourning the possible loss of their daughter and their loved one. And the father is upstairs in the daughter's bedroom drinking, and Jason Statham comes in, sees him, feels bad, and of course he's gonna take the job, because if he doesn't take the job, then there's no movie and we're not gonna be entertained. So he takes it, does some very strange investigating, going from here to there, and kind of like just putting two to two together and doing some very basic detective work. He's really not going outside of the law or doing anything like that. And he starts finding and discovering everybody very easily, but it's taking him way too long. Literally like a week has gone by and he has not found the daughter. He's going home, sleeping, eating dinner, going about his day, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of like urgency. Like, I have to hurry and find her in the next 48 hours. Otherwise, she's gonna be gone forever. Although we are dealing with a kidnapping, it just doesn't feel like we are focused on any real high stakes. Instead, we'd rather just sit around and watch Jason Statham beat a bunch of bad guys for the next 2 hours. And you know what? It's completely awesome. It's entertaining. Every single action sequence, in my opinion, actually serves the story and the plot and moves everything forward. And I found myself going deeper and deeper into the film and actually getting more and more interested by it. And then by the end of the movie and the entire experience, I found myself saying, you know what? Bring it on, a Working Man sequel, bring on the Working Man series, the saga, whatever. I need to see at least 2 more of these films and give me some kind of trilogy. Not saying that this movie ends off with anything like that, but I felt like this was a good foundation for something more that could come next. He lost his eyes, and so now he can't see, and I was really expecting there to be this ultimate final act where David Harbour and Jason Statham were gonna come together and be in this like ultimate shootout. Yes, I understand he's blind. How is he gonna do that? I don't know. It's a movie. Have fun with it. But no. He's just there to watch his daughter while he goes and be's the hero. So, in my opinion, I was not really thrilled with them reducing David Harbour with such a small role like that. You know, look at what he's about to be doing with Thunderbolts. He just got casted in Avengers. This dude is the biggest all-time actor ever, and it kind of just bothered me that he was just taking a backseat the entire time and was there to be this like wise friend to tell him like, oh, you have my permission, go look for her, go do your thing. And that was really it. Oh, he was the weapons guy. I guess he had a bunch of cool weapons and stuff like that, but there wasn't ever a moment where it was like, damn, David Harbour, he's tough, man, he's cool. I was waiting for that, and it just never came. Guy Ritchie is one of the biggest like action directors ever, and he makes movies every like year, every 2 years. He's constantly putting stuff out there like that, and I've complained about his work before in the past. I have, I'll be honest to that, but he always seems to be making really entertaining films that appeal to commercial audiences, and he never really wastes any actor, any opportunity that they have to really enhance the story and make it go further. And so I couldn't help but wonder, what would have A Working Man been if it was directed by Guy Ritchie? David Ayer did a great job directing this movie. This is definitely in his stronger suit. He's getting better. I'm seeing a progression. Finally, after all these years, it seems like he's doing something right. Even though it's not even his script, it's Sylvester Stallone's script. I still want to put that out there. But I think A Working Man is good enough just to fly under the radar and not have anybody question how awful and how kind of just simple this movie is at the end of it. The theater that I got to watch it with, the audience was completely engaged, and that's one of my favorite aspects when going to the movies, is when people are just at the edge of their seats, they're screaming, they're yelling at the screen, because what's happening is inflicting a real life reaction out of all of us. And so I could tell throughout the entire movie, everybody was waiting for somebody to say, oh, you're a working man. Literally the title of the movie, we were just waiting for that moment to come. And when it came, the theater just erupted. And everyone just stood up and started clapping and cheering. And I couldn't help but wonder, like, where the hell am I right now? And I was one of those people. I was like, yes, this is what we wanted. I need another one. I'm going to rate A Working Man 5 out of 10. I think the story is perfectly fine. I think everything about the movie is just okay. Nothing really seems to be going above and beyond. I definitely think that this is like a straight to TV movie. Like, this is something you could watch at home anytime, any day, and you'll just be like, that was definitely awesome. I had a good time watching that. But the performances just aren't entirely there. I felt like some characters were really underutilized, and the setup could have been a lot better. I'm not a fan of these filmmakers literally just stealing elements from John Wick, from Taken, Jason Bourne, and yada yada. All of these famous action movies that we know and have come to kind of just like expect over time. I feel like at a certain point, I'm just watching the same movie. Like Novocaine, Beekeeper, Working Man, Love Hurts. Like, all these movies just sort of blend in together after a certain while. And that doesn't mean that they don't work on their own individually. That doesn't mean that I don't like them and that I'm never going to watch them again. Like, no, not at all. I'm completely entertained. I liked what David Ayer did with this movie compared to his other recent films. But I just feel like we really need to raise the bar with action films in terms of just storytelling. And I'm not talking about the choreography. I'm not talking about cinematography. None of that. No. I think they understand the technicalities on what it takes to make a great action movie. That's not what's in question here. What's at question is writing a good script, is saying, hey, Sylvester, we like you, you're a good guy, but maybe we should give this script to like a professional writer and have someone like rewrite it, readapt it, and like we can maybe get some real awards out of this. But no, they kind of just decide to take the easy route with this film. But at the end of the day, it works completely fine. I don't think a 5 out of 10 is like the worst rating ever, but it's just not the most memorable film to date. I'm very curious to hear what it is you think about A Working Man. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, I've been your host, Isaac Joel. I'll see you next time.